Hello everyone. Welcome to MIST7571 Internet Programming 2. I'm your instructor, Nikhil Srinivasan. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been at UGA since 2013 and teach a variety of courses for the department across both the bachelor's and the master's programs. I teach data management and analytics at the undergraduate level. I also teach Java and sometimes other introductory courses at the undergraduate level. At the graduate level, I teach in the Business Analytics Masters offered by the Terry College of Business, as well as the MBT program. Within the MBT program, I have taught the data management course. I also teach Internet Programming 2, which is the client-based development course, and I also supervise your final projects for the MBT program. Broadly speaking, this course, Internet Programming 2, will cover concepts related to client-side programming with a specific emphasis on JavaScript and React. We may, time provided, examine mobile application development, but that is on the back burner. And so the primary focus of this course is going to be on web-based client development. While the official start of the course is about a week away, I hope to start off this course by giving everyone a little bit of grounding in some of the foundational technologies that we'll be using in this class. The foundational technology I'll be touching on today is HTML5. I know most of you all have some experience in HTML given previous classes that you've taken in this program, so consider this either a refresher or a primer in HTML5 and forms within HTML. In this brief slide presentation, I'm going to give you a review of HTML5 and of HTML forms. That's the agenda. HTML5 and forms. So what is HTML5? We're all very familiar with HTML. HTML5 is the most recent evolution of the HTML standard, with the current version of HTML being version 5.2. It is the latest evolution of the HTML standard and merges three technologies, the technologies being HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML brings under its umbrella components of CSS and JavaScript offerings, and it provides native support to certain aspects of these technologies. HTML5 also differs from HTML4 in that it supports additional behaviors around different characteristics that typically have existed in HTML, that have typically existed in CSS or JavaScript. These new behaviors include certain styling and semantic elements with the support of new tags within HTML and new CSS effects. These new tags allow content authors to describe elements of the page in more detail, and we'll take a look at some of these tags later on in this presentation. HTML5 also supports new APIs, allowing a web page to connect to REST-based APIs and WebSockets out of the box, as it were, without the need for additional programmatic functionality. HTML5 allows also for the local storage of data as part of the browser's local storage object. This allows web pages to take user input, and instead of communicating this user input back to a server, allows that user input to be locally stored as part of a browser's local storage object, so that when a user later on comes back to that very same site, data does not need to be retrieved from the server but can be retrieved from the browser itself. HTML5 also allows the browser to access audio, video, and the camera's API without the use of specific plugins. And finally, HTML5 allows for the use of advanced graphics functionality without use of technologies like Flash or Shockwave. And so it provides a canvas element that allows for the use of that. Different browsers implement standards differently, and this has been true since early versions of HTML. IE, Internet Explorer, for example, and Chrome, and other browsers, Firefox, Safari, Opera, implement standard and non-standard versions of HTML. For browsers to work within the HTML standard, we have to rely on an element known as the doc type element as the first tag within our HTML page. This doc type element allows us to specify whether our page conforms to the HTML5 standard or whether we are using some non-standard version of HTML. For HTML5 compliance, all you need to do is to specify that it is going to have HTML5, and you can see that in the slide. It's pretty straightforward, it's pretty standard. This is going to be the first element within the HTML content that we write. In addition to the doc type element, one also needs to specify the character set that the browser should expect within the content of the web page. We use the meta tag to convey information about the character set that we will be using. The current standard is UTF-8. It's the most popular standard, and so we have to specify that as well within the header tags. In addition to this, we use the link tag to connect to any style sheet that we might use to format the content on the page. And so what you see in front of you is the standard structure of a HTML web page without any specific content. You can consider this the template for all the content that we might develop in this class. Now, remember earlier I said that there are new tags that can be used to structure a web page in HTML5? Well, some of the tags that we could use to mark content are header tags, footer tags, section tags. You also have aside tags, time tags, article tags, and these are a very small list. There are lots of new tags in HTML5 that can be used for structuring a web page, and feel free to use them to examine their use in web page development. Now I want to talk a little bit about HTML forms, as this is the primary way we will be interacting with the scripts that we develop with JavaScript. Now, forms are used to take input from the user and are typically enclosed within the form tag in HTML. However, you don't always need to use a form tag to take user input and to pass that input to a script. While it is considered good and proper use, one may also forego the use of the form tag. However, I would suggest the use of form tags as it is good and proper convention within HTML-based development. Within the form tags, one can use other elements to take specific forms of input, including text, radio, checkbox, password. HTML5 has included specific data type based inputs like date, email, time, color, telephone number, and many, many more. These more specific data types sometimes offer validation as part of the new HTML5 standard. Feel free to experiment with these other data types as you have to take input from the user. Now, as one interacts with the form through the use of submit or other buttons, we can have a variety of different behaviors within form fields. These behaviors within form fields can trigger functions within JavaScript code. These behaviors are considered to be events, and these events are monitored, and on the triggering of any one of these events, various JavaScript functions can be invoked. You can have events such as click, the loading of the web page, or the mousing over a HTML element. While onload, onclick, mouse over have been present for a while, have been part of the HTML4 standard, HTML3 standard, and so on. HTML5 now includes mobile device based events. Mobile device events may include something like a finger press, a long press, a short press, may involve a change of device orientation, and so on and so forth. Here's a brief sense of how a form may trigger a function within JavaScript. You could have an event being monitored, such as the onClick event, and on that event occurring, a function, a JavaScript function could be triggered, and that function would exist within script tags. We will go more into this later on. In fact, this is where we'll be spending the first 2 weeks of the course, taking a look at JavaScript functions. So in conclusion, HTML5 is a new iteration of typical HTML. The usual HTML tags still work, but there are lots of new elements added and behaviors are added with the use of APIs and other elements, such as canvas elements and support for mobile devices. Things to remember are the doc type element and the meta element that should be specified in every web page, an HTML web page. HTML forms are the ways that we're going to interact with the HTML content, and we're going to use a variety of tags offered within forms to gather data and information from the user and turn it in and submit it to JavaScript scripts. That's a little bit of an introduction or an overview of HTML5, this new standard that we're going to be using in this class. It's not going to be very hard to get used to HTML5. It's going to be pretty much the way we've been interacting, and y'all have been interacting with HTML for so long.